excited to be back with you ladies. I know you last time you didn't really get to meet Shoneji because she was out of town when we did this. So now you get 2 for the price of 1.
So actually today I'm going to do what I did the last time. I'll be answering questions in the chat. So as Catarah is going through this demo, guys, feel free to ask any questions that may come up. I'm on the other device and I'll be able to immediately answer your questions, and I'll even, you know, say them live here so that other people who may want to have the same answer, you'll be able to get it. So we're gonna have some good fun and show you some easy breezy,
very easy
dessert making here.
So this may be, you guys, the quickest dessert that we've ever had. It's called the Lazy Peach Cobbler for a reason, because it doesn't require a lot of work. It doesn't require a lot of time, nor does it require a lot of ingredients. And for those of you who are vegan out there, if you already received the recipe prior to, you can see what your substitutions could be for if you are making this as a vegan option. We're gonna do it the fat girl way today. And we're doing the fat girl way. I'm a fat girl during the holidays. I love to eat, especially desserts. And this is the time I give myself some leeway so that I can enjoy all the things that I love. So
before we get started, I know one of the questions already, because I think you guys have the ingredients and some of you are going to be baking along.
I think so.
So go ahead and set your oven to 350. So you want to preset to 350.
So it can start getting warm. So ladies, before we get started, we just kind of want to give you a little background on this recipe and on who we are. So I'm Catarah.
And I'm Shoneji.
And we're Southern Girl Desserts. We're based here in Los Angeles, although Shoneji and I are both from the great state of Florida.
Oh, the great
state of Florida. And the furthest south you can get when it comes to a state. And I know a lot of people are like, Florida, that's not the South. Yes, it is. In so many ways. So we are both from Florida. We attended Florida A&M University, and ironically, we were both there at the same time, but didn't meet each other until we're both here in Los Angeles. And so we were connected that way, and we've been in business together now for 14 years. We've been in our current location for the last 8 years, and we just got through a really busy holiday season. Thanks to some of you who may have ordered our desserts through Goldbelly. That's where you can find, not this Lazy Peach Cobbler, but that's where you can find a lot of our desserts that we do ship nationwide. We're on quarantine here in LA, so we've been doing a lot of baking. This particular recipe has been around for a long time, and this actually came from a friend of Shoneji's family who was so nice to share it with us, and we've been sharing it with people for the last few years.
Don't tell Miss Gail we've been sharing.
Miss Gail is her name.
This recipe. Yeah, she's absolutely fine. So she's a dear, she's like another mom to me. And she shared this recipe, and the reason it came about this way is because what people have shared over the years is they get really, really intimidated by making pie crust, you know, or pie dough. So this is the lazy version of a peach cobbler that does not have the actual flaky crust. It's more of a cakey crust. So it's still, you know, that breading in there that everybody loves, the carbs, but you don't have to do the work of rolling the dough.
So it's gonna look similar, but it is gonna have a different look. But my goodness, ladies, it so tastes amazing. So you don't have to spend all day. This is not that recipe where flour is gonna be all over your face and everywhere. You can do a quick cleanup, and in 30-45 minutes you're going to have a dessert. Put the same vanilla ice cream on it as you would your regular peach cobbler, and it's going to be amazing, I promise you. And even the vegan one, if you're doing the vegan version of this, it's going to taste the same. There are, if you're wondering like, where do I get the condensed milk? So I believe it is Land O'Lakes, but they now have the condensed, the vegan version, which is really a coconut condensed milk that you can get and replace the regular milk condensed milk that we're using for this recipe. And then you'll be, instead of using traditional butter, you'll use a vegan butter. And I believe that is Country Crock that has the sticks, the vegan sticks that you can use.
Or Earth Balance.
Or Earth Balance. Or I found that Country Crock though, they have, it's more the consistency of regular butter. That's why I like to use Country Crock. So in the Country Crock you can find in a regular grocery store. The vegan butter, I've been told that you can find it in a regular grocery store, but I think it may be specific to like a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's or some specialty store like that. But you can also order it on Amazon. If you just put in coconut condensed milk or vegan condensed milk, you'll be able to find it. So don't worry, everything you need is out there somewhere. So I think we'll go ahead. You have any questions?
No, I'm just asking if everybody's ready to go. We're gonna go ahead and get going.
So if you have anything that you can, so first of all, let me show you this. This is the baking dish that we're using. This is one of those pyro dishes. This is a 9x13. You can use this. You can use, if you have one of the glass pie dishes, you can use that. You usually would want to use something about 11 inches round because of the amount of peaches that we'll be putting in here. You don't want it to overflow. So
and we know about
that. We'll talk about that later. But you can make sure the dish, whatever baking dish you're using, even if you don't have glass, you can use one of those aluminum foil half pans or whatever you may have at home. The important part, no matter the size or the shape, as long as it's large enough to hold everything that we're putting inside of it so that it doesn't go crazy.
Gets a little tricky. And as you'll see, as simple as it is, the reason she's saying that is because it rises.
Yes.
And so you want room for the expansion as it bakes.
Exactly. So, and we like she said, we learned that lesson recently as well. So now that you have your baking dish that you're going to use, your baking dish of choice, we just want to make sure we line the pan with some type of baking spray, or if you don't have that, just get some cold butter and line the pan with it. Either way, you just want to grease it because you don't want everything sticking to the bottom of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that.
So let me answer this question while she's getting that together. So someone asked, can you use this recipe with other fruits? The answer is yes. However, you want to make sure that you've got a lot of juice. The juice is really key to making sure that this cobbler is not dry. So you can use any other fruit that you want, but I would recommend, like if you're using apples, for instance, cook your apples yourself so that it creates its own liquid that you can include when you pour.
Yeah, you know, I want to try this with apples. That would be
good. Really good.
That's a great question because I would love to try it with something different. Okay, so we've greased our baking dish that we're going to use. And now the first thing we're going to do is make our easy, lazy crust. So you are going to have a cup of self-rising flour, and you want to get it in a nice size bowl because you're going to add all your dry ingredients in one bowl together. You're going to combine those. So we're going to combine the 1 cup of self-rising flour. It's crazy because there was a time we could not find self-rising flour here in Los Angeles. That was the weirdest thing. I couldn't find it. I know you had some here, but I could not find it. That was the weirdest thing to me. Then we have our 1/2 cup of granulated sugar. For those of you who are vegan, I know some people who are vegan prefer like a non-char type sugar, and you can get, I think it's Zuka has that type of sugar, but we're just going to use a regular white granulated sugar. So we have these 2 items, and we're just going to like mix those together. That's your sugar and your flour. Just kind of combine them a little bit because now we're going to add our condensed milk. This is a 14-ounce can. So it's that small can. It's not the big one. It's that small can that you can get from the grocery store. It's 14 ounces, and you're going to use all of it, and you're going to mix it with your sugar and your flour. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Here. It gets really messy because it's basically a whole bunch of sticky milk and flour.
But nothing like that sweet milk.
I know, it's so good.
So yummy.
Okay, I'm gonna get all of that. All of it. But you know, when Shoneji and I started baking together, one thing that she was so funny because she was like, get all of it. So she would get all in the crevices and get I mean, you would think.
No man left behind. Believe me, at the start of this business, though scraping that bowl saved our lives many times when we got that extra cupcake. When we were baking at the house and it was 3 a.m. and there was no store open, scraping, I learned to scrape everything. So
I mean, it made a difference. It made a difference. So, ladies, be very careful when you're combining your sugar, your flour, and your condensed milk, because it's not just you have to fold it in. And if you and you need to do this by hand, this is not anything you're gonna do with a mixer. I mean, you can, but it just becomes a big mess. It's just easier to control it if you just use a spatula. Now, fold it in, just go a little slow, because if in the end of the day, you're gonna have flour all over yourself. I mean, now if you want to look like you work hard, then go for it. But you want to go ahead and just slowly mix this in. So that's what I'm gonna just do this.
And this is your dough that you're creating.
And so mixing it in slowly, you're gonna start to see your dough form. And you're just gonna keep mixing it in. It's gonna look like it's more flour than it is anything else, but the more you mix it, the more it'll combine. Because I know the baker in me always wants to add more liquid. Add a little bit more liquid. So I'm gonna combine this until it starts to give me that doughy texture, and you can kind of see that. Let me get a little closer. I don't know if you guys can see that because of the light, but you can probably, if you're doing this right now at home, you're gonna see it has that doughy texture, and you're just gonna keep.
The key with this is when it comes to any type of dough, this is just a baking tip in general. Don't fiddle too much. Right. You just want the wet to get incorporated with the dry, and then you're good. If you do too much fiddling, it makes it tough and it doesn't rise. You want it to still be fluffy when it rises.
All right. Okay, ladies. So we have our dough already mixed in. So now that we sprayed our baking dish, we've made our dough with our sugar, our flour, and our condensed milk. We're going to take our stick of butter, which equals to about 1/2 cup of butter. We melted it in advance. So you can go ahead and melt that if you haven't already. And this is going to be your butter. And we're going to just pour the butter inside of our baking dish. Okay?
Simple, simple.
And you can see we poured it inside of our baking dish. You can just kind of move it around a little bit. There you go. See that? Cool. So now that we've done that, we're going to take the flour, the dough that we've created, and we're just going to dump it into our baking dish. The great thing about this is you don't have to do all of that kneading. That's why it's called Lazy Peach Cobbler. You don't have to make sure that the dough extends from one side of the baking dish to the other side of the baking dish. Like we have it plopped right here in the middle. That's all you have to do. Because this is self-rising flour, it's going to do all of the work for you. So you do not have to make sure that you have the dough evenly distributed across the baking dish. See how it's just sitting there? That's all you have to do. Super simple. Told y'all didn't have to do any work. This is really simple. So now that we have our butter inside and our dough that we created on top, now we're going to go ahead and add our sliced peaches. So we are using a 29-ounce can of peaches.
So since we're talking about peaches, let me go ahead and answer Peg's question.
Okay.
She's asking about fresh peaches. Do they need to be sauteed to create juice? Absolutely. So the way that you get juice from any fresh fruit that you're using is number one, by adding sugar. The and on the pan, I mean in the saucepan, as the heat hits that sugar, it creates the juice. Because most fresh fruit is gonna be full of water anyway, so that water gets released with the sugar to create the syrupy juice that you want to use. So yes, Peg.
And if you're using fresh peaches, yours is gonna be amazing. I already know. So we're using canned peaches today, and we're using, like I said,
it's lazy.
It's lazy. Peg is making the unlazy peach cobbler. So this is a 29-ounce can. You can kind of see the size of can that I'm holding here. And this is why we say you need a baking dish that is at least 9 by 13 or 11 inches round, because this is a lot of peaches in here and a lot of juice. And we dump the entire thing into the baking dish. We don't hold back.
That's always the question. People are like, do I use the juice? Oh, yes.
That's a must. So we just dumped this entire 29-ounce can of peaches inside of the baking dish. And as you can see, we still have plenty of space for it to rise. The great thing is you don't have to do anything. You just got to dump. Sometimes people call this like a dump cake, because you don't have to really do a lot of mixing and all that. You just dump it in and then let the oven do the work. So now that we have our peaches, our whole can of peaches inside of the dish, we're just going to take like a tablespoon, I believe, of vanilla extract, and we're going to just dump it over the peaches. That's it. It will all get to where it needs to go. Don't you worry about it.
Another little quick trick, if you want to do this, you can. The peaches or whatever fruit that you're using, if you want to add your extract and your cinnamon to that, you can mix that together and then just dump it all together. And that way you don't have to worry about,
trying to get it even.
Yeah. So that's just a little trick if you want to, but it's fine either way.
Yeah. And the cinnamon is to taste. You don't have to use cinnamon if you don't want to. We're just using a pinch of cinnamon. Some people like to use more. Some people like to throw a little nutmeg in there. Those spices are up to you, but this is the version that we're using today. So I'm just going to take my pinch of cinnamon and just kind of sprinkle it throughout the dish.
So let me answer this question. So there's a couple. Specifically, white lily flour, is it self-rising? I don't know. So it will say self-rising if it is. I'm sure white lily probably, if they're making flour, I'm sure they have a version. They have the all-purpose and probably a self-rising, but you want to, it'll specifically say self-rising. The thing about self-rising flour, for those who don't know, when you use self-rising flour, you don't have to use baking powder or baking soda or salt. All of that is in there for you, which is why it's self-rising. If you're using all-purpose, you use those things to help the baked item rise. The other question from Pat, is there a way to make a dough crust on top like a pie? So if you do that, then you're just making a regular peach cobbler. And the answer is yes, absolutely. That's just a regular peach cobbler. But this is just a quicker version of doing that without having, like Catarah's been saying, having to do the work of rolling and kneading dough and all that stuff. But you can absolutely do that and have a traditional peach cobbler. Meg, what is the trick to making a pie that is not too runny? Well, it depends on how much liquid you're using. So in turn, that really kind of goes back to Pat's question. If you're doing a more traditional cobbler with a dough crust, you want to make sure that your filling is more firm. The way you do that is creating a slurry. And a slurry is nothing more than cornstarch and water. Or some people will add all-purpose flour to the mixture to thicken it. So if you've ever made a roux or anything like that when you're cooking, same concept. You just want to thicken whatever the filling is so that it's not running all over the place, and it will actually set when it cools down. Hope that answers the questions.
I never received a question about this when we've shared this recipe before, is that someone asked, I want more dough. I want more crust in mine. So you can just double it up. The only rule is that you have a baking dish that's large enough to hold everything, because it looks like, oh, we have a lot of space here. But then once it starts to bake and rise, then it's going to get it's going to get taller. It's going to be a lot more in the dish than what it looks like right now. So just double the sugar, the flour, and the condensed milk, and you'll get more crust. And you can.
Most people always want more. I want more dough, less peaches.
Yeah.
So
I don't even know why we call it peach cobbler or anything, because all people want is the dough or the crust.
Linda, let me quickly answer your question, and then we'll go ahead and move on and finish this off. She said she saw on our IG that we had a name on a Thanksgiving pie. How do you do that? Oh. So we just simply use marzipan.
Yeah. Almond paste.
To create a plaque, and just rolled it out, cut the letters, and placed it on the pie. Really simple. Yeah. Simple things that can look really impressive.
Yeah.
But we don't mind sharing secrets.
And you can get all of that from Amazon if you want to, or your local, bakery store that you go to, and get the little stamps and find the font that you like. If you feel like carving them out by hand,
more power to you.
More power to you.
All right.
So ladies, our lazy peach cobbler is ready to go into the oven. As you can see here, we have our peaches, our dough, our cinnamon, our vanilla, and we're gonna go ahead and scrape these sides.
And if anybody missed this part, let's just reiterate, that dough is not going to necessarily spread across your pan. The oven will do that work for you, and it will basically envelop the peaches and the juice.
Yeah.
So don't worry if you just have a lump, because we just got a lump right in the center also. No worries. You'll be fine.
So at this point, we would put the cobbler in the oven, and then we would, TV magic, we would bring out a completed one so that you can see how it looks. So today we're going to do something different. We're going to actually have a photo of the actual finished peach cobbler in the comments. But today we're human, things happen, and I didn't quite follow my own rules when it came to putting the peaches in a large enough baking dish. I misjudged. Oh, it's going to be about 30 minutes, Chelsea, in the oven. 30 to 45 minutes, depending on your oven. Everyone's oven is different. You'll know that it's ready because the crust will have spread and it will have risen, and you'll see a nice golden browns on top. And so you can, 30 to 45 minutes should do it. I would say put your timer on for 30 minutes, check it. And if it looks like,
ladies, use your timer.
Please use your timer.
I'm a stickler for a timer, as you heard that noise, because we know how distracting life can be, and you don't want to forget that you got something in the oven. Use that timer.
Yeah. So speaking of our dish that we're supposed to show you, I didn't measure correctly. Oh, sorry guys. Oh, are you there? Sorry. I didn't measure correctly, and because I didn't have the right dish, it overflowed and my oven just went ballistic, and there was smoke everywhere, and the fire department came. No, I'm just kidding. But we had to open up all the doors, all the windows, and things happen. so sorry we don't have that for you ladies, but we're human. It happens. It could possibly happen to you, but we hope that it doesn't.
But there's the finish.
There's the finished product. That's the actual size I was supposed to use for the round baking dish. That's an 11-inch, and see how it all engulfed together. It's absolutely delicious. You can serve it warm when it's done, You can let it sit for a little while and serve it room temperature. It works either way. Just make sure you grab some vanilla ice cream and have at it, because you're going to be like, I'm making this instead of all of the work that goes into a regular peach cobbler. So if you have guests coming over, thanks, Andrea. If you have guests coming over and they're like, oh, we're going to be there in an hour, you're going to throw a last minute dinner party when the world opens back up, this definitely be the dish, the dessert that you can make that everyone will be impressed about. Chelsea.
Thanks, Chels.
Well,
hey,
maybe
girl.
we can. If when the world opens back up and we can all get together again, you know, thank goodness Shoneji and I, we work together and we get to do a lot of this quarantining together, because so many people are by themselves and we do realize that. And so hopefully it's things like this girls' night and them putting this together is such an awesome idea that we get to commune and come together and just do fun things like this to get us through these long quarantine days. And, you know, we just really hope everyone had a great holiday.
And we're going up from here for this new year.
So excited about the new year. Working on some desserts that people who are on diets can have, including myself. I go on a diet every year.
Look at my face.
I go on a diet every year.
You go on a diet every week.
Yes, this year I'm gonna stick to one and try to make it work. And hopefully we'll come back and be able to share one of those with you ladies in the new year. We have another question?
No, not at the moment.
So if you ladies have any other questions, I told you that this was going to be a lifestyle change. You are correct. And that's the problem, is trying to make it a lifestyle change. And after 2 weeks, I'm like, it's over. It's not working. I have not lost 20 pounds. I'm moving on to the next one. So I appreciate that encouragement. I really do.
Okay, so yes, Irene, everyone goes on a diet every year. That's why the gyms are, they look forward to the first of the
But
year.
this year it sucks because they're not open.
But now people are buying Pelotons and everything else. So
that's
hey.
true.
All right, so Tina, if you wanted to make it ahead, could the pie be frozen, or how would you reheat? So here's the thing. First thing is, this thing is so simple that literally while you're having dinner, you could be baking this.
Yeah.
And it'll be ready by the time you're finished. I would say, I don't know about freezing this particular dish, just because, well,
It's the
I
stuff,
guess,
right? I mean, it could, but it's just because of the consistency.
yeah, I honestly, for this, I would just make it, if you made it ahead, just don't put it in the refrigerator. You can just leave it out. Or if you do refrigerate it, you can throw it in the oven 350 for just long enough to warm it through, like maybe 5 to 7 minutes, just to warm it through, unless you like your stuff piping hot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's so super fast.
Yeah. And like Shoneji said, if you're having a, dinner, just go ahead and make it like we just did. And if you don't want you want it baked and you want it fresh out of the oven, just put it in 30 minutes, 45 minutes before you're ready for dessert. And it's going to do its thing in the oven and it'll be ready.
It's so quick.
It really is.
We could literally stay in here and talk to you guys and it would be done.
Because it really does go by pretty fast. How many of you out there actually are baking with us? Because we can't see you. So
I can see them.
You can see them. Oh, hi guys. I can't see you. So are there a lot of people actually baking with us today, or is it just everyone's kind of taking notes?
This is always the best way to do it, though. I'm a live visual person, so.
Oh, Chelsea's
okay,
baking.
Chelsea, yeah. Of course, our friend Chelsea is.
That's our girlfriend.
Well, this is the thing. Okay, so you didn't use the condensed milk, Chelsea, is what you're saying. The thing about that, next time, if you can, just buy a vegan version of the condensed milk, which is like a coconut milk, because you want that full fat. That's the thing. You want the fat. So with you using that lactate, it may be a little runny.
Soupy.
Yeah, it might be a little runny, but we'll see. You still may have a good product at the end, but the consistency just may be slightly different and a little thinner.
Yeah, because the condensed milk, if you saw when we were pouring it into the mixing it with the flour, it's super thick. Like it pours like molasses. That's how thick it is. And that lactate is just going to pour really fast. So it may be different. And don't blame us, girlfriend.
That's you and your lactate.
That's your lactate. You go back and try to condense milk and send it to us. I want you to show it to us so we can see how it turns out.
Email us. Yes, I agree, Chelsea. I think it's gonna taste really great. It'll just be, like I said, maybe the consistency might be a little thinner. That's all.
No, yeah, and I mean, but really let us know, because then as we do this again in the future, that's an option we can offer people who may not have condensed milk and need something last minute to make it work. So
or have that intolerance for
exactly. Which I think a lot of us have.
Latoya, yes, please. Let us know. Send us a DM. Let us know when you try it, because we love to see. Send pictures too.
Yeah.
We love to see how things come out for you guys.
Or just tag us on Instagram or something like that. We'll see it.
Thank you, Kayla. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We really, really do. We enjoy doing this kind of stuff. This is fun for us. And we love when we can show things that are super easy that people can actually try themselves, because we know how intimidated people get by baking.
Yeah.
You hear people say it's a science. It's not. I mean,
you just gotta follow. You have to follow the rules.
Yeah.
You have to be a rule follower when it comes to baking.
But you can still get creative, and you can still do substitutions, like we talked about the fresh fruit versus.
Like I think someone just asked about blueberries. I kind of saw it pop up.
If I wanted to use blueberries, should I do anything different? Yes, Sharon. So we mentioned this earlier. Just make sure that you cook your blueberries so that you get some juice. But the key with this is making sure that you got juice so that you just don't have a dry piece of crust and then some fruit sprinkled in. You want the juice to spread throughout. And if you're not getting a lot of juice, because sometimes blueberries don't create a lot of juice, add extra when you cook it on the stove. Use the frozen ones, because they're frozen. That there'll be a little bit more water, and you can add your sugars to sweeten it how you like. But if you're not getting a lot of juice, you may want to add a little extra butter.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with some extra butter. Whoever told y'all butter was wrong, they ain't right. Okay, because butter is everything.
So this is it, guys.
I told y'all it was easy.
It's just bacon. Let me see what it's doing. Oh, I wish I could show you how it's rising.
To spread and rise.
Yes,
just like we thought it would.
So, as you try this, I'm sure everybody will have great success. By all means, send us a message on Instagram or even Facebook, or you can email us.
Yeah. And if you email us, we've had, folks email us before. I'm making this recipe. You have any suggestions? That's where I got was talking to you guys about making the extra crust. Was got an email from someone who was making this, and they were like, I want more crust. I'm like, well, double it up.
Yes, Renee. Any fruits will do just fine. You can use mixed fruits. That's absolutely fine. The key again is just the juice. Make sure you got some juice.
Yeah, because the thing about the peaches is, this is lazy peach cobbler, so everything is already ready for you. But if you ladies want to make it lazy, homemade kind of
blackberry cobbler,
whatever, go for it. I'm sure it'll come out just fine. There's so many ways to do this thing. This is just the way that we do it, and hopefully you all will try it. If you haven't, Chelsea, our girlfriend Chelsea is the hero today. She's trying it with us. But we hope that you learned something new, and that you will try this and let us know how it turned out, and that you'll share it with people you're quarantined with, and be able to go into this new year with something.
And get some ice cream and dump it on top. And next time we come back, we'll show y'all how to make some ice cream. If you're quarantined and can't get to the grocery store.
Hopefully we won't be quarantined much longer. But you all just stay safe. Happy holidays to you and yours. Thank you so much for joining us again. We're so excited to be with you all today. And that is all, folks.